Good morning and welcome to the walk-off, everybody. What a wonderful way to end a ball game last night. Hockey be damned. The Jays was definitely
I
the
thought you were going to
place.
say what a wonderful way is to check in and see the Oilers lost.
Yeah.
As a Flames fan, that
And
does
then
feel like a wonderful
and
way
then
to
flip to the
end it.
Jays game. Exactly. No, I am not rubbing it in any Oilers fans' faces yet. I'm giving you a full week, and then maybe we can get a little salty. But that is for another time. All right. The big takeaway from yesterday's game. I'm Scott Belford, by the way, joined as always by the best co-host in the biz, Adam Mack. This is Mailbag. Lots of questions and comments to get to. The top three in that order yesterday, buddy, doing what they had to do, and that's one of the things that has been said over this hot streak that this team's been on up until they ran into Philadelphia was that think how good this would be offensively, this team, if the guys who are supposed to be the big offensive threats were, and Vladdy with a dinger, loving his ribbies, couldn't get enough ribbies. Bichette with a dinger, Addison Barger coming up big, and again in the way they did it too, man, to come from behind and get a win they had to have after losing three in a row. You don't want to just give all of that
Uh-huh.
ground back that you
Yeah.
just gained. Huge win from them. I mean, ankle sprains in the outfield, kind of the negative there coming out of this. Miles Straw with a right ankle sprain, Jonathan Clase with a left ankle sprain. The Jays are in tough in the outfield, which is shocking because literally 2 weeks ago we were talking about what a embarrassment of riches the outfield was. Nathan Lucas still on the IL with his concussion protocol. Dalton Varsho still a week or so away from returning. So right now, the outfield is freshly called up Will Robertson, rookie Alan Roden, and old man Springer holding down the fort there. It is not ideal, but you know what, man? And we'll dive into this. I know there's some questions about it, but do you think a little bit of playing time for Roden and Robertson might actually be a good thing? It's kind of forcing John Schneider's hand, right? Like, there's not a lot of choices here as to what you're penciling in. In fact, it's even rumored that just called up to AAA RJ Schreck is going to
Great
be
name.
the guy that great name going to be the guy they called up. He was of course one of their acquisitions in the at the trade deadline last year. I think it was in the Danny Jansen trade. I should double check that before bringing this up. Nonetheless, trade deadline acquisition last year, was in double A to start the season, just got called up to triple A literally 2 weeks ago, and looks like he's going to be the fourth outfielder for a while until Nathan Lucas comes off the concussion protocol IL.
I apologize. I didn't follow any of that because all I heard was RJ Shrek, and then that made me think of I watched Final Destination with
This
friend
is
of
a
the
hard
show,
left turn. Yes, friend of the show,
Devin
Devin
Sawa.
Sawa.
Great interview you did with him, by the way. My daughter, I watched Final Destination with my daughter. She did not appreciate that I pointed out that the main character in that had been on the walk-off. She's like, I don't care. Just
Mean,
watch the show.
mean.
Detective in that show investigating the whole thing, Detective Shrek. I couldn't
Oh,
get over it.
okay.
Turns out it predates Shrek. Final Destination, 2000 film. Shrek, 2001.
There you go.
RJ Shrek.
You know
I
what,
don't know when he
man?
was born, but
I love the way your brain works. And
I
and
hate it. I'm sorry. When I see Brian at ball on Wednesday, he's gonna roast me for this one. So
nonetheless,
I
Alan Roden
apologize.
and Will
Yes, thank you.
Robertson, I do want
Thank
your
you.
opinion on these kids getting some more playing time. Do you think that this might be a good thing in the long run, even though Miles Straw and Nathan Lucas had played so steadily? Jonathan Clase was looking good.
Um, yeah, like I think
It's not ideal. I know it's not, right?
no, but like if you're gonna lose outfielders, Nathan Lucas and
Miles
Miles
Straw.
Straw, Those are
Jonathan Clausse.
pretty safe ones to lose. I just mean like we're not. I mean, okay, I realize I'm saying this as Dalton Varsho's out, but also he's not a big offensive contributor, despite the hot start he's had.
Yeah.
Whatever. Steadily, they've been playing steadily. Yeah, but that's also like steadily gets you to 500, you know?
Hmm.
Like if you're trying to be a playoff team, we've talked about this in the past about, reworking a joke, right? And you come up with a new joke, you perform it, and it's like a 6 or 7 out of 10, and you're like, okay, good enough. And then you don't tweak it anymore. You got to be willing to make those changes and have it bomb and be like, oh, that was a 3 tonight. That
Yeah.
was a 4 tonight. But eventually you go, that was an 8, or that's my new closer.
Yeah.
Like you've got to be able to take that one step back to like rework shit to get to that next level beyond just, well, that joke performs steadily.
And the
You
only way
see
to
where I'm
do
going
it
with this?
is reps.
Right. And risky, like this is where I come in with the Will Robertson and the Nathan or not
Alan Roden.
Alan Roden, right? Is like, okay, they're gonna get more reps. This is us, they're not gonna be as steady
Hmm.
as Nathan Lucas or a Miles Straw, but also like maybe the upside is there. Maybe they're better than steady,
And
right?
that's
And
the
like
truth is maybe the ceiling is a little higher for an Alan
so if it's
Roden
gonna
and Will
force John
Robertson.
Schneider's
Yeah.
hand to like look at an option that like otherwise we wouldn't have looked at, and it's like okay, and there might be some growing pains, and there's probably going to be some growing pains. We've already seen it with Alan Roden, who started the season,
Yeah.
got sent down, now called back up, right? But sometimes you got to play for September and October, not just treading water in June.
And I think that's absolutely the mentality that John Schneider and this team needs to take when it comes to these two outfielders. Grounds crew. Where are you at on this outfield situation right now? The Blue Jays go from incredibly deep in the outfield to having a guy who played in Double A 2 weeks ago as their fourth outfielder. So they are in tight. Now, reinforcements are coming, right? Nathan Lucas could be back anytime. I think his 7-day IL stint is up right away here, if not today, maybe tomorrow. And depending on how the tests go, concussions are weird. So he absolutely could be out longer, and they're going to make sure to play it
They do
safe
linger.
with him,
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to Dalton Varsho, he's swinging, he's taking live at bats, all of that sort of stuff. But is he ready for the outfield? He's not yet. So again, they're going to slow play Dalton as well when it comes to at least being in center field. They may bring Dalton back for his bat because his power was looking so tantalizing this season. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he still is second on the team in home runs to George Springer and Vladdy, who are tied at
Yeah.
9, right? So
Yeah.
we'll see where things land, but let us know. Where do you think this outfield falls into place? Do you think RJ Schreck's going to get any playing time, or are they going to go with their two rookies in Robertson and Allen, who has a little bit more experience with the big leagues and maybe not try and push things? We'll see. It's going to be interesting. Let's dive in here. You can always get a hold of us on Twitter at Walk Off Podcast, Instagram, and Blue Sky, the Walk Off Podcast. If you are a Patreon member, well, number one, thank you so much. We could not run the channel without you, and you automatically get that Patreon bump as well as bonus content, MLB Mondays, and as if that's not enough, instant access to all of our interviews and shows. On that, let's dive in, starting with Patreon. This one comes from Brian Crawford, and he sent it in um, this morning. Question for mailbag. Brian, by the way, writes some great stuff on Twitter, or not on Twitter. That's where he posts it, right? Some great articles about prospects within the Jays system. And if you are into prospects, follow Brian Crawford on Twitter. Okay. He goes, do you think the power that Addison Barger has shown as of late is sustainable? So I'm going to turn this over to you here, Adam. We're watching Addison hit dingers. This is what we wanted out of him all along. We saw the potential for this last season, and it never really came to fruition. Is what we're watching right now sustainable, which is basically he's a 30 home run guy? The arms sure
It's,
make it look like it.
yeah.
Feels
So
too early. Yeah.
how are we prefacing like is this sustainable? Like I mean, so I've got his prospect scouting grade. So this is from last season. Hit, power, run, arm, field, right? Everything's scored out of 80, which drives me nuts. 80 is the best score. His hit is a 45. Good.
Yeah.
Power 55.
Okay.
Run 45, arm 65. Field 50, overall 45. So, yeah, I mean, to what you're saying, arm strength, I think we've all kind of been
Very impressed.
enlightened by what we've seen at the big league level. The power, like getting a grade of 55 is really good, right? Like you get spoiled by guys with 80 power, but those are like,
So few and far
so
between.
few, like maybe one in a draft
Like
class.
we're
is
talking
getting 80,
Jordan
right?
Alvarez, right?
Yeah,
Like we're
it's not so
which,
the
by the
power
way,
like
not to interrupt you, I'm gonna say this really quickly, but it does make Will Robertson's 65 power grade kind of stand out a little bit.
something to I mean, and with baseball more than any other sport, development is so
Non-linear.
non-linear. Great way of putting it. Great way of putting it. Um, Aaron Judge, for the record, had a hit of 50 and a power of 60 on his 2014 scouting grade.
Mm-hmm.
So development happens, right? Sometimes you turn out to be 7 feet tall. Yeah, I mean, it's. I point this out just to say it didn't come out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um,
And
sixth round draft.
you watch the way he approaches his at bats. It has been impressive. He's showing a good eye, and when it is a fastball, he does seem to recognize it and get on it quick.
I guess short story long, yeah, I think there's a chance it's sustainable, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
I'm gonna as optimistically as I can be about this is that he is the first young prospect that we've dabbled with where I felt like he might be the dude.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Santiago making the All-Star game never felt like, oh, we got a guy here. This is, you know, here's a win for the development.
And I loved Espy, but I'm with you.
We all did, right? Like, whatever. You know, I never feel that way with, even when Davis Schneider was mashing a couple Septembers ago, and I was like, holy God, like he's just, where'd this guy come from? Anytime you're like, where'd this guy come from? It's probably a red flag that is not sustainable, right? Like, guys get hot all the time, and sometimes they get level 10 hot at the right time, and it works out great for a stint. But
and that's where I will say it doesn't feel like Addison Barger's hot right now. And maybe I'm completely misjudging this, but I mean, he is hot right now, right? Yeah. But it doesn't feel like he's lighting the world on fire. It doesn't feel like this is completely out of nowhere. And despite the fact I still need to see more before I truly 100% buy in, he sure has put up a good 2025 season to date.
264 batting average, 497 slug, good for an OPS of 819.
Mm-hmm.
It's an OPS plus of 125. It's really good, borderline great.
Interestingly enough, too, they moved him into the 2-hole yesterday, which was the first time we've seen that.
Was that ever a good timing for that?
Yeah.
Um, it is still a small sample size, is like the only asterisk to put on this,
Hmm.
right? But this isn't a 32nd round draft pick.
No.
This isn't something like
This is a
in the
guy with some
sixth round.
pedigree.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
sixth round, you've still got your main scouts participating in the draft, right? Once you get to those, like, okay, we're around 97, you've got you're drafting your neighbor's kid, just, he's never going to make it, but it's a wink wink and he can put the jersey up in his basement man cave, right? Like, it's not that kind of a
Yeah.
thing here with Addison Barger. So there's a realness to his resume here of like, yeah, this could be legit. I don't know if I texted you this. I think I did. Barger Bangers. Can we start?
Yes,
We
you
got
did.
Springer Dingers. Can we do
Springer
Barger
Dingers,
Bangers?
Barger Bangers. I'm
All
on
right,
board.
there we
Let's
go.
make it
All
work,
right,
buddy.
sounds good.
Let's turn this into a thing. Barger
All right.
Bangers. Get on board, everybody. Okay, moving on. This is from Wyatt G, another Patreon here. He says, "Hey fellas, been a while, but I think I might have a good one. 1-for-1 trade. Bo Bichette for Chris Sale. Are you making the trade?" This is an interesting one, Adam. There's a few
Yeah.
reasons why this is an
Uh,
interesting one. Um, is Chris Sale? He's got a option for next year, correct?
club option.
Club option, which is very valuable, especially with the way he has performed. Last year, Cy Young. This year, slow start, but he's kind of found his footing. The Blue
Well, it's still
Jays,
a 2.79 ERA on the season. So
yeah. So he's really found his footing. Bo Bichette on an expiring contract. Little interesting thing about Bo Bichette is Alex Anthopoulos was the regime that drafted him. Means nothing. Alex Anthopoulos has been a general manager to a lot of draftees. Doesn't mean he always has to go out and get them. However, he's a loyal man. You look at some of the 2015-16 Blue Jays that he brought into Atlanta, more than you would think, right? Jose Batista, Josh Donaldson, Kevin Pillar. Does it make sense? If Bo Bichette isn't signing a contract with the Blue Jays, maybe there is interest in him signing an extension with the Braves, and maybe it does give some leeway into signing him. Do the Braves need a shortstop? Yeah, they actually could probably use an upgraded shortstop. And Chris Sale, how much value does he have if the team isn't going to make the playoffs? And right now, the Braves looks like they're on the outside looking in. They're still a good team. Who knows how things shape up by the trade
they're six
deadline?
games back of the division there for the Mets. I mean, considering the horrible start they had,
Yes,
to the
they have.
fact that they're not out of it
Mhm.
is, I mean, there's signs of life. But yeah,
As a
I
mock
mean,
trade, I kind of like this. I mean, it makes sense on both sides. Can they get the only thing that I think stands in the way is if the Braves want prospects for him, right? In which case, but if they feel that a 27-year-old Bo Bichette is a fit positionally and within the organization, this is a good way of getting a head start on every other team who will be vying for Bo's job.
yeah,
Grounds crew, what do you think? This is an interesting one.
yeah. I mean, I don't hate it as much as I thought I did. I still wouldn't make the trade if I'm in charge of the Jays. I mean, we do need starting pitching. Chris Sale, 36 years old, would fit right
Yeah.
in the retirement home that is our starting rotation. Um, he's pitching
Man,
great
Chris
for a
Sale's
36 year
great.
old.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the numbers are good. Cy Young
Dominant
last year.
lefty. Yeah.
I just, I don't know. You said like would the Braves be willing to move Chris Sale and not get prospects back? So Braves have this according to Google AI, generally ranked near the bottom of MLB, with some publications placing their farm system in the bottom five.
Okay.
Jay's right there with them. We have been on the upswing lately. We've been showing off a lot of talent making their MLB debuts. That's kind of where I'm at with Bichette, though. It's like I wouldn't want to move him for anything other than like young CJ Abrams upside kind of guys. I don't know how many prospects you can get for Bo. I mean, it is, like you said, it's free agent next year. It's a pure rental. What's the market even for him? I don't know, but
And that's the only reason why Atlanta is intriguing is I do wonder if maybe there is a little bit more under the hood when it comes to
yeah,
his ties to Anthopoulos, and it could mean absolutely shit all. Like, what do we know? But the truth is that uh, when you look at the Braves and the Jays, it does address two areas of need,
sure.
and in the long run, they're both walking at the end of the year, most likely. Anyways, I mean, obviously Chris Sale with how he's performed, the club will pick up his option, but.
Yeah, I I mean, it's not a delusional trade suggest. We got a lot of delusional
Yeah.
trades, right? Like, hey, how about
The Jays may need to sweeten it with that extra year and Chris Sale. Like, who knows? There might need to be a prospect involved as well. I don't think it's not a Namala or something like that,
no,
right?
no. Yeah, Bo and Adam Kloffenstein or something, right? Like,
Yeah. CJ Van
um,
Eyck.
yeah, it's I don't know. I don't think it's likely. It does address a couple things though, like you said. We desperately need, I mean, if we get a starting pitcher with a sub 3 ERA,
Hmm.
never mind a lefty, that's an appealing target.
It sure is.
Braves don't really have use for that. Other than, like you said, could pick up the option, run it back next year.
Yeah.
That is the logic behind the Braves not trading Sale at all,
Hmm.
right? Is that like, sure, this year's a write-off, but we do have the club option. They could bring him back.
Great,
They
honestly,
could they could
great
use a
mock trade,
shortstop.
Wyatt. Like
Yep.
I for a mock trade, it's one where I could see there being value on both ends. I still don't think the Jays are going to trade Bo almost no matter what. This
Yeah.
offense is too scarce right now, I think, to move a piece like that.
Agreed.
We'd need at least Santander back and banging to even consider this sort of thing. We'd need Varsho to kind of continue to do what he's done. And I know that Varsho has been all power and is all his other numbers have been the same outside of power. I take that, especially if
Yeah.
you're hitting the guy fifth or sixth, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah. Drop your comments, folks. Grounds crew, where you at? Bo for Chris Sale. It's an intriguing one. Moving on. This is from Mark Drabert. He goes, mailbag question. This team is too good to not fix their starting pitching. But there probably won't be a trade out there unless they want to overpay. Would you consider stretching out Yariel Rodriguez? I know he's pitching well as a reliever, but the plan always was to have him in the rotation. Do you risk it? So before I answer this, I
Yes.
will say Mark is correct in that do you risk it? It is a risky endeavor to start to yo-yo relievers back and forth between starting and relieving. And I am well aware the name I'm about to give, the example I'm about to give, when it comes
This
to
is
the
chicken strips.
talent, it is far lower on the scale than Yariel Rodriguez. But we'll all remember jokester, comic relief, Joe Biagini, right? And
Ah, okay.
Joe was
Big
put in,
ears.
it's been years, and Joe was put into the starting
I
rotation, and
didn't
he,
say it's been years. I said big ears.
big ears, Biagini. Yes, sorry. My big ears totally missed that. Yes.
Oh, good. Sorry.
So Biagini did very well in the starting rotation, and then some Injured starters came back. He was moved to the bullpen. Then come 2017, he was great in the bullpen, by the way. Come 2017, they needed a starter again, yo-yoed him back up. He never could return to the form that they had seen previously when he was starting. Then they moved him back into the pen. He could not recover the magic he had when he was in the pen. And eventually he just wound up slipping out of baseball altogether. Again, talent wise, Biagini to Rodriguez, there's a huge gap there. However, it is a dangerous endeavor to not give consistency to a animal that thrives on routine, right? And that's pitchers to a T. Love a good routine. You talk to any pitcher, every time we have a guy on from the minor leagues, literally they talk about routine more than anything. So to just disrupt a routine, which they've already disrupted, right? When they went out and got him out of Japan, he was one of the top relievers. Moved him into the starting rotation. He struggled, never really could find his footing. And as soon as they put him back into the bullpen, he has been absolutely dominant to the point where he really could be challenging Hoffman for saves. All of that to say, I don't know. I don't really like the idea of moving him back into the starting rotation. As it is, this bullpen is a little wonky. Chad Green, I mean, they just DFA'd Eric Swanson. I don't know if the back end of this pen has enough give to take one of their top guys and try and get him to start. I get the idea though, Mark, because the starting pitching's super thin too. What do you think, Adam? Is it worth the risk? Is the
Wow.
squeeze worth the juice?
Is the squeeze worth the juice? Yeah. I mean, I guess it depends what comes of Max Scherzer.
Mm-hmm.
How far away is he? You know,
Can he actually come back and give some innings?
these are all great questions, right? Like Chris Sale's old, Max Scherzer is old
Older.
plus.
Yeah.
Um, I like the Joe Biagini poll. Before you said Biagini, I thought you were going to say Ross Stripling.
That one worked out.
Ooh,
I don't like to bring
that
up
one,
examples that work out.
but so here, this is the other side of that coin, right? Is that Ross Stripling had a hell of a year that year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at his game logs. This is 2022. Started in relief, so fifth inning, and then by April 15th, he was starting. Started 5 games in a row, pitched 4 or 5 innings in each of those starts, and then went back to the bullpen. Ninth inning, eighth inning, 7 through 9, ninth inning, 4 to 6, 5 to 7, and then by June 6th, he was starting again and then started the rest of the season.
And he literally saved our season that year.
It was incredible. Yeah, he finished the season with a 3.01 ERA, but
From June.
from
Yeah.
June 6th on, once he became a full-time starter and got that what do you call it, routine,
Mm-hmm.
a 2.64 ERA for Mr. Ross Stripling. So like that worked. That was a desperation move. And I'm not saying we like bank on Yariel being like the savior of the season, but
Yeah.
like
Might be worth a try.
maybe worth a try if it can limp us to the deadline, you know,
Mhm.
like I don't know. It's
This deadline has the potential to be such a disappointment, dude. Like, I've been eyeing this freaking deadline since May, and I know other Jays fans are kind of in that camp as well. And oh my God, man, if they wind up doing a 2022 bolstering or, I'm just going to be like, oh, come on. But we'll see.
yeah, we'll see. It does. I guess it's not going to be a bummer for me because my expectations are so low. Like I'm just not expecting fireworks at all. Man, would it be cool to have the David Price, Troy Tulowitzki summer again. Like,
Buddy.
AA on his way out the door, like, let's fucking go. Maybe, like, the stars are aligning, like, we're kind of frisky. We got reason to be optimistic. Like, we got some pieces, but we're still a few pieces away. And, like,
Hook it to my veins. Give me
right?
2015
Would that
deadline.
ever
But
be sweet?
I just,
I don't think that's happening. I think
yeah.
it's going to be the Adam Simber, Anthony Bass type of moves. And it's going to
Hmm.
be like, all
But they'll
right,
be needed and they'll fill areas
they'll
of
be
need.
needed and it'll
And
help, but it won't be like
we won't
nothing's
lose
too
anyone
sexy.
of overly too much consequence, like,
Hey, maybe in July we add some kind of like switch hitting Central American slugger,
hmm,
you know, for
oh,
free. Maybe we don't even have to give up anything to get him
yeah,
back.
let's call him
Maybe
Tony.
let's call him Tony just for the sake of it. Like there is that possibility. Like slow start, and I know like there's a lot of like people really down on Anthony
Hmm.
Santander. A lot of people saying the worst
Bust.
contract we've signed in years,
Yeah.
right?
People love throwing
Um,
that one around.
I will say, if small sample size still, like it was a cold start for
Yeah.
Anthony Santander. Absolutely. I'm not trying to be a Santander apologist, but those are the sort of things that like all of a sudden fall into your lap where he's back in July and he's hitting like the Dickens, and you're like, oh, this was a freebie,
Yeah.
even though it wasn't because you put in the work to sign him in the off season, right? But like, if you could float and be two, three
Healthy
games back of the
Santander.
division
Healthy
without
Santander.
anything from
Give it to me.
Santander, and then all of a sudden he's on a 40 home run pace. He'll end the season with 20 to 25, but when you factor in the first 60 games were a write-off and then he missed 30 games,
Yeah.
okay, the last 70 games he hits 20 home runs. That's a lot. That's
Yeah.
a 50 home run pace. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's still those
There is
free
there
additions.
is
Hey,
reasons to be optimistic. And again, when it comes
sure,
to Santander, he does have a track record. This isn't a guy
right.
that hasn't hit dingers in the past. So yeah.
Multiple seasons of track record too.
Yes. Yes.
So
All right, moving on to Trevor. This is from Patreon as well. He goes, the big question for us is our last 18 games sustainable? Now, this was a few
no.
days ago. This was coming up to the Philly series. He goes, Swanson and Green have been, and then the puke emoji. Hoff, all home runs this last little while. Vlad and Bo ain't being stars we need them to be. Bo is a 104 bat now. So he's talking OPS there, OPS plus. Also, another vomit emoji. Then he goes, when you have 8 percentile range and a bottom third arm and no speed, that ain't going to cut it. Talking about Bo there.
Mhm.
But we have to hope and pray Max Varsho and Santander come back on all cylinders, along with Jimmy and Sandlin. Vlad is going to go off. Underlying numbers just too good. Ex Woba is a 407. And then he's got the open eye emoji, like, oh my. So, yeah, there are some question marks surrounding this team without a doubt. Swanson, of course, DFA'd at this point. Chad Green, I mean, yeah, Chad Green's a problem right now. And some of these injured guys that are coming back, we really do need to hope they sort of hit the ground running, right? Jimmy Garcia, if he needs to kind of get right and there's like a month of him kind of being a little tumultuous with the way he's pitching and they need to kind of pick their spots and stuff, not ideal, not where you want to be. Nick Sandlin, he was great, right? Weird arm slot, coming in much higher leverage situations than maybe the typical Jays fan thought he would when we acquired him
Mhm.
from Cleveland. Be great if he could step right back in. It's expecting a lot, but they do kind of need this. That all said, all of these questions Trevor has, every team outside of a few exceptions are going through the same sort of stuff, especially in the
Yeah.
American League. We'll see how it plays out.
We talked about Bichette, this 104
Mm-hmm.
bat that he has,
Mm-hmm.
referring to his OPS plus right now.
Mm-hmm.
So for anybody listening that doesn't follow the new stats of baseball, OPS on base percentage plus slugging. OPS plus is
100 is
scaled to
average.
100 is league average. So he's 4 percentage points or whatever above whatever the league average is. So fine, nothing to brag about. And the point being made is, yeah, when you're a below average defender, you can't be just an okay bat, right? Like you can be Joey Gallo if you're mashing. As soon as you stop mashing, you're driving Ubers. I will say with Bichette, so yes, the numbers on the season, not the best. 270 batting average, yeah, a 104 on base percentage plus, 9 home runs, which have all happened in the last 4 days.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, basically since May. Bo Bichette was god awful in April for the most part.
So his OPS plus since his first home run, which was a week into May, is 136 with 9 home runs. He's on a 36 home run pace.
This is
since
a guy
he's come alive. Now,
this is a guy too. Everyone will remember, like he only played half a season last year, and most of that was marred by injury.
So I guess this is me being glass half full on Bo Bichette. And I will acknowledge I've been a Bo Bichette apologist. I'm a Bo Bichette fanboy. A lot of things, I'm in the Bo Bichette camp. So this is going to sound like I'm making excuses for him. But yes, last year was marred by injuries, missed a lot of time, never was quite right even when he was in the lineup. There was probably a getting back up to speed factor on Bo Bichette. We talked to Chris Sale, missed time with, I think it was Tommy John in 2019 or whenever it was. And a couple seasons after that, the numbers didn't look good before he won a Cy Young last year, right? At the age of 35. I mean, another trade target we've talked about, Sandy Alcantara with the Marlins, same thing. Elite young pitcher coming off Tommy John. This season, the numbers don't look good. That's just like part of the getting back up to speed. I think, okay, so we talk Barger. Are the Barger numbers sustainable with what we've seen out of Barger? I would say there's more reason to believe the last month and a half we've seen out of Bo is
closer
more
to what he
sustainable.
really is. Yes.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
I don't know that he's going to be 36 home run pace guy for his career. He's never been that. But like high 20s, low 30, like 28 to 31 home run pace feels very reasonable to me. So this is part of why I'm like, I don't want to trade him.
Yeah.
Because I do think that like he does contribute offensively. I agree. I wish the speed was there. When he came up, I thought he was going to be like a 30-30 guy, 30 homers, 30 stolen
2021,
bases.
he had 29 home runs and 27 stolen bases. It really felt like he was just on the verge of being that guy.
Yeah, felt like we had like a young Sean Green in the infield, right? And that's
not the case. And listen, that's fine.
I will say there's been a significant approach change for Bo Bichette at the plate that I've seen from going through his numbers this morning in an attempt to apologize for him. I don't know if this is good or bad, but for his career, his strikeout to walk ratio is like 3.7, 3.6. This year it's under 3. And since May, it's like 2.5 strikeouts to walk. So like, I mean, he still strikes out a ton.
Yes.
Right. I'm not saying like, oh, this is not Juan Soto at the plate who's gonna, walk a whole bunch and be super disciplined. But I mean, it's just interesting to note that, yeah, there has been a more conservative approach, which I don't necessarily like. I mean, I like that the strikeouts are down, but I almost would prefer, Bo Bichette, who leads baseball in strikeouts and doubles,
Hmm.
like give me that guy.
Hmm.
But
Agreed, and I'm big on Bo too. Grounds crew, go ahead and
uh,
drop your comments here on Bo Bichette. Do you believe that what we're seeing from him May 1st on is the real Bo Bichette, or are you more along the lines of, well, let's take a look at what he's done over the last year and a half, and let's give him zero leeway on the injuries, and that's more what he is? Okay, last two from Patreon before we get into Twitter and Insta and all the rest of the public forums here. These are just some funny little quips. Done Farming chimes in. He goes, if Heineman has so little service time, does he qualify for Rookie of the Year? LOL, laughing emoji. This is because we were talking about how he's 34 years old. He still has 3 years of arbitration with the Blue Jays on league minimum. And only has like 140 major league games to
mhm.
his
Hilarious.
yeah, to his name. So Tyler Heineman for Rookie of the Year. Let's go.
Does he
By the way,
qualify?
I did look it up. He doesn't qualify. He's
Okay.
too many plate appearances.
What
Okay.
is the just for do you know? Well, I mean, you looked it up. Do you remember what the requirement is? What's the threshold, the
Off the
cutoff?
top of my head, I don't remember the threshold.
Okay, that's fine.
140,
Okay.
160, I forget.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on to Johnny Eaton. He said, I had no idea what you were talking about when you said PVR. We were talking technology and just how as we get older, we just kind of cut it off where we're at. He goes, shows how old I am. Back in my day, we used to play chew the bark off trees and we liked it. We liked it just fine. So
Nice.
Going to Twitter. This one is from Amanda. She DM'd us. She said, hey guys, just saw Bowden Francis was put on the IL. Maybe his performance is because he's bad, because he's been, oh my God, I'm bad at reading. Sorry. Hey guys, just saw Bowden Francis was put on the IL. Maybe his performance is because he's been battling an injury.
What do you
I
think?
mean, it's a nice thought. I will say that when asked and pressed, John Schneider did say there is zero structural damage in his shoulder. This feels more like a mental reprieve, if you will, a phantom injury. And
An
literally,
Anthony Santander.
I have no way to back this up, by the way. This is pure speculation. And maybe he is going through something, and maybe that's where his struggles have stemmed from. It does feel more like maybe he's a little sore, and this is an easy way to not send him down and to let him kind of just maybe take a week away from baseball.
This feels like, I mean, very similar to Anthony Santander, for one. I think this is um, learning from your mistakes with Alek Manoah.
Okay.
I think this is what we should have done. Alek Manoah's, I guess, not sophomore season because he was a rookie and then he was the elite
Third
Cy
up
Young
in Cy
contender.
Young. Yeah.
And then the year that was. Um, but that was a guy that was like not getting it done at the big league level. And we forced him down to AAA. And there was for sure like some bruised ego to
Hmm.
it.
Shit, he went to the
Accusations.
complex league and then got lit up by those 18-year-olds. Poorly handled.
So like there should have just been a face-saving move like this for Alek Manoah. I think we weren't doing it back then. I think we're doing it now. And I think this is something we're going to just, this is now a tool in the tool belt of Ross Atkins or, a card in the deck for the Blue Jays to start using more often. When a guy's struggling, you've got no, it's just too hard when the team's clicking to keep struggling or to keep sending out Bowden Francis every 5 days to end our 4 game winning streak 3 or 4 times in a row. You
Hmm.
go, okay, man, like we believe in you, but this is just not sustain. Like we can't keep doing this. Like you've got to get your head right. So let's pretend you're injured. It saves face publicly, right? It gives an excuse for why the performance has dipped. Gets the fans off your back. Oh, Santander isn't the biggest bust in Blue Jays history. He's injured, the poor guy. Leave that sick dog alone. You
I do
know,
believe Santander was injured. I don't think it's quite as phantom as Bowden, but I mean, again, you could be right too because we
in
literally
any
have no
case,
idea.
right?
But yes,
Sure.
you're right though.
The vibe I'm going at here,
Yes,
right? It's like,
I get what you're saying. I
you
shouldn't
know,
muddy the waters. My apologies.
yeah. It's so I don't know. I like it to be honest. Like I don't like that it's necessary, but I do think that it's good to manipulate the system in a way
Hmm.
it's not intended for, right?
Hmm.
Like, normally you can't just send a guy down to AAA if he doesn't have a two-way contract or whatever, right? Like, you're not sending Vladdy down to AAA.
Yeah.
Ask Rafael Devers how that would work out, right? Like, there's a hard no coming. Um, but to be like, hey man, like you haven't hit a home run all season. Maybe you're injured. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I like that as a shake things up, whatever you want to call it. I don't
Hmm.
know. It's I still don't think Bowden's going to rebound. I don't think he's going to come back from this injured list slash rehab assignment and just be good to go. Um, but at least it gets him out of the lineup,
Yeah.
you know, and at least it does so in a diplomatic way, where you're not burning a bridge on his way out of town kind of thing like we did with Alec
Truly.
Manoah, right? Because that was just such an ugly, the bad blood that was brewing with Alec Manoah that season. It just felt like even when he came back, it was not under good circumstances. We call him back up. He wasn't pitching well in the minors, but we kind of just needed him anyways. And then, it was just there was an attitude and he had like double something to prove. So he wasn't the results weren't there. I don't know. I like this so much better. I
Yeah.
hate that it's necessary, but I like it.
Moving on. Melinda messaged us on Instagram, and you can always get a hold of us on Instagram, the Walk Off Podcast. She goes, "Hello, Scott and Adam. I have a mailbag question. With Eric Swanson being DFA'd, does this make the Teoscar trade even worse? It feels sort of like they moved him for nothing now." So thank you, Melinda, for reaching out. Before I say what I'm about to say, I wish to give a little warning here that I do think this wound up being one of the worst trades that Atkins has made. Okay. So
Okay.
everything I'm about to say, I don't want you to take it as this is me defending the front office or going to bat here for Atkins. But I will say there's a little bit lost in this question, which is that Teoscar Hernandez was on his final year of his contract when they moved him.
Mhm.
The 1 year he had in Seattle, 26 home runs, played quite well for the Mariners. After that, it's really tough to judge the trade. And I do think that the bridge they burned and the torching they put to the relationship hurt more than anything. I think that even when they revisited Teoscar, he wasn't interested in coming back to the Blue Jays after the way the front office treated him and after the way they showed so little confidence in what he provided. I think that's the biggest mistake of this trade, more so than the actual trade itself. Eric Swanson was a huge piece in 2023 in the bullpen, and one of the reasons they went to the wild card, not that it matters, they scored one freaking run that whole time. And so offense was still the biggest problem. Yeah, like it's not a great trade. Trading a power middle of the order bat for a bullpen piece, I think that Atkins and Shapiro learned their lesson. I sure hope so. Adam Macko was the prospect that came back in that trade. He's in AAA right now and probably the closest thing to pitching depth that this organization has right now. You know, if Max Scherzer isn't ready when they hope he is, Adam Mackel very well could get the call here within the next month. I think he is going to make his major league debut this season at least. We are hopefully talking with him. I know I was chatting with him about coming on the show, and then he kind of went dark for a bit. So we'll see. We'll see where he's at. Never want to push too hard with those guys. You know, they've got lives and are busy and stuff. But I mean, and feel free to jump in, grounds crew. Does this trade feel worse now that Eric Swanson's been DFA'd? I don't know if it does. I never like. I went from not thinking this trade was a big deal. I really thought that when they moved Teoscar, I'm like, well, they get a guy who's a back end of the bullpen dude that they're going to have for years. Teoscar's on the expiring end of his contract. These guys have been such an offensive behemoth. I'm not worried about offense. Boy, talk about knowing shit all in the end. But, you know, I really at the time didn't think it was that big of a deal. Turns out it was one of the biggest mistakes that this front office has made, most likely. And they've been trying to recorrect ever since. Does it make it worse, them DFAing Eric Swanson? I guess no. What's your thoughts, Adam?
I mean, this is tough for me because Teoscar is like one of the guys I've had to eat crow on more than anybody. Like I got him wrong.
Yeah, me too.
That whole season and leading up to it was a lot of like we were at a fork in the road as an organization, right? Like there was a lot of which direction are we going? Where are we going to invest our money? Was he a long-term piece of the future? And like
we did just get eliminated from the wild card because of a huge defensive blunder between Bo and Springer, and there was defensive question marks all over the place. Lourdes always felt like an adventure out in left. Teoscar felt like an adventure in right. Springer's an aging center fielder who couldn't stay on the field. Like we really were at a crossroads. And
so going into that off season, 30 years old for a guy who had a really, really, really good 28-year-old season 2 years before. So in 2021, he had 32 home runs. This was his first time hitting 30 plus. Before that, career high of 26, had another 22 and a 16 before that. So like the numbers on Teoscar were fine. I guess I should say the 16 home run season was COVID. So that was 16 home runs in 50 games. So that's actually quite nice. An OPS plus of 146 that season. He finished 11th in MVP votes. But then the last year in Toronto, 25 home runs. And the OPS went from 870 the year before to 807. So there was reason to believe this guy had a breakout season towards the end of his prime and was already starting to kind of show signs of like maybe he's on a George Springer path. You know, there's not a lot of guys that play well beyond their 30s. So I was out on Teoscar for that reason. So it's hard for me to be like, oh, we should have never traded. Like, what a bad trade. Because I was also like, let's.
No, both you and I, that's probably one of the shining we ate crow moments for the podcast.
But then like you say, it's also kind of tough to look at what he's doing in the Dodgers lineup and be like, oh, he would have done the same thing here because, you know, the bats around him in LA, slightly different, right? So his numbers in LA last year, 33 home runs again, and a 840 OPS. Really good.
Really good.
As a 31-year-old. Numbers look fine this year. A 798 OPS, like whatever, 13 home runs. It's in the Dodgers, though. So I just have a hard time. I mean, you even said it with Eric Swanson. The year we had Eric Swanson, like that first season with us, pitched
Mhm.
amazing. It
He really did.
was incredible, like one of our best bullpen pieces. Um, so it's just hard for me to be like, oh, well, because we eventually DFA'd a guy, automatic loss. Like if we
Yeah.
traded Bichette for Chris Sale, and now 3 years later, Chris Sale's retired and Bichette's still playing for the Braves, it doesn't just automatically mean the Braves won that trade,
Yeah.
right? Like if we got a, a good playoff push out of Chris Sale this year, like even if he was a stinker next year and then not with the team the year after, you go, yeah, but it wasn't a long-term investment. Like there was just other factors beyond, hey, who's going to be the better player in 5 years?
And
You know,
not to be a prospect hugger, I will say that there is still a question mark in the air about Adam Macko. And you know what? If Adam Macko winds up being a guy who, honestly, even if he's just a number 5 pitcher that logs some innings for this team for a year or two, that has a lot of value too, right?
if he gives us a Bowden Francis career,
Yeah.
he gives us 12 great starts, 12 bad starts, and then 12 kind of decent starts.
And by the way, I'm not saying then the Jays win the trade, right? Because there's so much external stuff you need to measure, but it would make the trade feel better if we get anything out of Adam Macko.
I mean, okay, it's not unrealistic to think 2 years from now, Eric Swanson isn't playing Major League Baseball. Teoscar Hernandez has been let go by the Dodgers and is playing in Miami or whatever. And Adam Macko is the number 4 on our team, giving us a 4.5 ERA. And it's like, okay, now does that definitively say we won the trade?
No.
No. Right? So like it is kind of like, okay, yeah, it depends. It's like with any stat. It depends where you stick your thermometer in the water and you go, oh, okay.
Leave it to us fence sitters to have 5 minutes to answer that question and literally not answer it, eh?
It's a circle.
Last question from Twitter. This is actually from Blue Sky. This is from Jason. He goes, "Hey
Hey,
guys." Oh,
I'm going to let you read this question, but before we go after this question, don't sign us off. I do just want to get out the 3 duds and a stud. Three
yeah, we can
studs
do
and a
that. I do
dud
have
from last
YouTube.
week.
I do have YouTube questions here too.
Oh, okay. We got lots of time left.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
All right.
So this is from, oh my God, I lost where I was. From Jason from Blue Sky. He goes, "Hey guys, love the show. All this talk about the Red Sox moving Devers and it being a good move for them to get out from under that money. It's bullshit, right? Like the people saying the Devers isn't a top 10 guy. That's crazy, isn't it? Question mark. I'm having a hard time seeing this as anything but a massive mishandling of a superstar." I mean, it was a massive mishandling of a superstar. So, number one, you're kind of correct on that. Now, exactly where Devers lies within the ranks of baseball as a hitter, I, I think he might slip into the top 10. So, these are some numbers here. Since 2021, Devers is 7th in MLB in RBIs. Now, a lot of people are going to say RBIs don't matter, but you know what? Scoring runs does kind of matter.
Matters.
So 7th in Major League Baseball in RBIs, 8th in slugging percentage, 10th in home runs, and by far the Red Sox most valuable player. So they gave him an 11-year, $331 million deal. The reason they moved on from him, obviously, the relationship was shit. Like, dude, it has been honestly so fun to watch all of this unfold. Like, it has just been
What
wild.
what's been more fun for you watching this happen with the Red Sox or as a Flames fan what
See,
Oilers fans
this
are
is the
going through?
thing, and there's a misconception. It was not
All right.
fun for me. It was incredibly anxiety ridden.
Well, because
it
you
was
were worried we were going to win.
I was worried you were gonna win. That wasn't fun. I mean,
It's
relief.
fun
I
now.
feel relief, and there may be some fun involved, right? In a week or two, I'm going to give you
Uh,
time, Oiler fans. I would never do that. But,
the
this
body's
has
still
just been
warm.
pure fun, right? Pure
Okay, that's true.
unadulterated fun. So, Devers refused to move positions. This is what started this whole thing. They went to him and were, number one, they went out and they got Alex Bregman and were like, Rafi, you're not playing third anymore. He said, but I was promised I would always play third base. That's one of the
Mhm.
reasons why I committed to you guys for 10 years. They said, pound sand. We're not who you made the deal with. Then he refused to play first base when they asked him to. And this is all because he was bitter and said, you said, right?
Mhm.
You said I was only a bat, right? You
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
can't play position. And then Bregman went down. Then in retaliation, despite the fact third base being his natural position and a very easy place to put him, the Red Sox refused to do so, going instead with some rookies. Honestly, just the whole thing is just been mishandled. And to watch all of this shit talk come out from the Red Sox camp and Rafi Devers just be quiet as all get out. I'm sure his agent called him and was like, Dear God, Devers, for the love of everything holy, just please, please keep quiet for at least a couple weeks.
Mhm.
But the fact that he's come out and is like, yeah, I'm playing first base with the Giants. Love first base. Can't wait to play first base. Like saying all the right things. Man, I know there's no way in
I'm a
a
team guy. You know me. Anything for the team. I think
team
he's.
first Devers. That's always been his moniker. Rafi team first Devers playing first base with the Giants. What I would love to see happen, I know there's no way this ever does go down, but remember when Vladdy moved to first and then
Mhm.
everyone was like, he'll never be a defensive first baseman, and then he won the Gold Glove in 2022. Even though there's a lot of reasons why you can say that was an undeserved Gold Glove. Good Lord, Rafi winning a Gold Glove at first base would be the most
Would be
beautiful
awesome.
thing ever. And I also hope that Rafi keeps his mouth shut on everything Boston until the Giants wind up doing something crazy, like eliminating the Dodgers in the NLCS to go to the World Series or something. And then he's wins the NLCS
Oh
MVP.
my
It would be
God.
the sweetest thing ever, dude. Like to watch them give up on bets, trade him to basically get out from under the price contract, to watch them refuse to engage with Xander Bogarts, and then to watch them trade Rafi Devers for literally Jordan Hicks and some lottery tickets. Like, man, again, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, and maybe there's a quiet deal with Kyle Tucker where Alex Bregman has already got him in line, or whatever the hell you want to imagine or get delusional about. But yeah, it seems wild to me. And however you feel about Devers, maybe we're overstating it. Like I know you felt this way, Adam, is that maybe Rafi isn't like the needle mover everyone says he is. He's still a top 25 bat. There's no argument about that. Like he's a top 25 bat in Major League Baseball, which means in a league where there's 30 teams, he is the best hitter on pretty much every team, any team he's on. It's a
Yeah.
tough one to
I mean,
lose.
yeah. Devers is a great bat. My only pushback on him was like because the Giants had been in on Aaron Judge and Shohei and Juan So, like they were just aiming at another echelon, like same with the Jays, which is fine, like
Hmm.
we were in on Shohei, we were in on Soto, like Vladdy's a great bat too,
Yeah.
just not generational. Great bats still help you win
They
championships.
absolutely do, and great bats can turn into generational bats depending on how the prime of their players go. And Rafi Devers being 28, Vladdy being 26, maybe they both have another level. We don't know. Only time will tell. But right now, I would agree that they are some of the best bats in the league, but not the greatest bats.
Here's an interesting. So this is a tweet from Bastards of Boston. breaking down the Craig Breslow cowardice of this trade. I, this is just going to be a little extra icing on the cake of your enjoyment here, Scott.
Yeah.
I didn't realize the timing of this, but this is hilariously extra coward. Red Sox are on like a 2-week road trip, and he traded them like day one of this road trip.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Fenway is going to be empty for 2 weeks before I have to deal with
Yeah.
So here's the breakdown on Craig Breslow. Like 9 bullet points here. So he didn't shop Devers to get the best possible trade package. He did it in secret, so the public couldn't find out he was about to make one of the most controversial moves in franchise history. He did it. He also kept in secret so Alex Cora couldn't catch wind of it to make it impossible for Cora to try and influence ownership out of it. He waited for this exact day because Fenway would be empty for nearly 2 weeks. He wouldn't have to face his own clubhouse, manager, or Boston media face to face because they're 3,000 miles away on the West Coast. He timed it that way so he could essentially go into hiding. Craig Breslow is a coward. So that's how they feel about him in Boston.
Yeah. And fair.
I will say what stands out most to me about this is the idea of your GM absolutely giving your management, your manager, the absolute silent treatment on this of like
insanity.
Like Cora has to be fuming, right?
Yeah.
Obviously Cora is one of the best managers of baseball. Like that's one of the best things the Red Sox have going for them, I think, is his Cora. I don't like the guy, but like I think he would be an upgrade over John Schneider. I think we can objectively agree to. So like to rug pull your own guy and to just be like, hey, we're not on the same side. You know, like
wild.
Say what you will about the Blue Jays, but
sometimes a little collaboration goes a long way.
from the manager up through the scouting department, the assistant staff, the everything up to Shapiro. It is a united front. That continuity is a competitive advantage. I don't know how much I buy into that, but I do buy into, maybe it's the parent in me where it's like mom and dad got to be on the same page. You know, even if they don't agree on everything and how you're going to discipline your kids, at least got to pretend. Like
united front goes a long way.
Fight in private and then be like, okay, well, this is the decision we came to. Let's move forward and let's not fucking undercut each other. To Cora's credit, I haven't seen him say what the fuck yet. I'm sure he's having some phone calls, but I haven't seen any tweets being like throwing Craig Breslow under the bus, being like, I can't believe we did this. I thought we were salvage things with Devers.
Wait for the off season because shit is gonna start coming out. Like the amount of stuff that's coming out of Boston already is wild. But just wait till some of these guys are not under contract with the Red Sox, or Devers has given enough breathing room where he can say some shit. It's going to be delicious.
Just wait for the Netflix series on it.
We are getting long in the tooth here, so let's get to the YouTube stuff, and then we'll quickly break down 3 studs and a dud, which we missed from last week. So this is from Mark Ryan, longtime listener. Always appreciate Mark's insight into the game. He says, and this is from the Andrew Stoughton interview, which I did with him on Monday. He goes, Jimenez is going to make about $84 million over 4 years starting next year. The year that Bo is supposedly not here. Over the past 3 seasons, he has a WRC plus south of 90. So far this year, his WRC plus is south of 80. It has been much better lately, but that's irrelevant. Jimenez hasn't played shortstop since 2022. Even this year, they chose to start Clement at shortstop when Bo sat. This front office chose to trade for a $21 million AAV defensive replacement. So this is in response to me saying I do think that the Jimenez trade is going to work out. Now, one thing I will say Mark has lost here is that sure, his math on the money and everything is correct over the next 4 years, but that's not how the AAV works. So they inherit the same AAV that Cleveland had him under, which is 15 million a year. Yes, they are paying the 84 million, but it's not going to affect the luxury tax. And I know that this is going to rub some people the wrong way. I really don't give a shit how much Rogers is paying when it's not affecting the actual books. You know, like
Mhm.
if that's how they want to operate, that's
I
fine. Is
agree.
there a more efficient way of doing it? Yes. And this podcast has been loud and proud about how shit and disappointed we've been in player development. That
Mhm.
is well documented. Now, when it comes to Jimenez, I do think there's more in the bat. He is 26 years old, and my projection of this money working out, which is 15 million AAV, is seeing some progress when it comes to the offensive side of the game. Is it going to happen? Am I going to eat these words? Maybe. He is so good defensively that when it comes to wins above replacement, it's probably going to break down to what you would pay per win. Um, is it the expensive way to go about it? Yes. Going out and getting a glove first guy for big money is always the expensive way to do that instead of developing from within. Now, I do think that he is an insurance plan in case Bo doesn't sign again. And he can move over to shortstop and play very well. I know that he hasn't
Yeah,
played since 2022, but he is shortstop is where his value will be the highest.
agreed.
Again, if I'm wrong, I will say I'm wrong.
Yeah, we eat crow on Teoscar,
Yeah,
so we'll eat crow on Jimenez.
is there a more efficient way of getting a defense first shortstop? There is. But that's player development, something that this team normally needs to trade for from Cleveland to get. So Ernie Clement is a great example. All right. Drop your comments below, Two Grounds Crew. I mean, if you're, I know of everything I've said this year, me being all right with Andre Jimenez has definitely gotten the most response out of people who disagree. That's fine. That's the beautiful thing with baseball fans is that we're not all going to have the same opinions. Okay, this is from Mike TKO. This is also from the Andrew Stoughton interview. He goes, I understand what you're saying about the front office, but it's been 10 years. If they get another 5 year contract, if they get another 5 year contract, Mike, fuck me. If they get another 5 year contract, they will go right back to their weird ways. They are only spending now and going for it. It is because their jobs are on the line. So this is in response to I said, listen, I think Ross Atkins has run his course here. And I said that there is a happy medium between being like, this front office is always wrong. They always suck. Everything they do is horrible. And being back on board with them because they have fielded a good 2025 team. And I just kind of, Andrew and I just kind of talked of like, yeah, they've done some good things. They've done some shit things. Have they been a great front office? No.
Mhm.
Is it time to move on from them? Maybe it is. I won't be upset. Andrew actually said the same thing. He was like, if Ross Atkins gets fired, he's like, I'm shedding zero tears. It's
Mhm.
just maybe a more centrist view of the front office than some would like to see. And you know what? Again, I am shedding zero tears if Mark and Ross wind up this being their last year.
Yeah.
But they did do some things that impressed me this year. Number one, listening to their players and changing the philosophy when it comes to the offense, something that is quite apparent that they've done. I do think that the player development has swung in the right direction over the last year, and this is something that they obviously listen to their players and to their coaching staff and from within.
Do
Eh,
you?
And I that all said, it has been 10 frickin' years and we haven't got a playoff win. So I get what Mike's saying. Mike's not wrong.
So, so Atkins is easier for me to jettison.
Mhm.
The Shapiro of it all, I don't. Okay, I'm not an MLB insider. I don't know, but what I hear from guys like a Keegan Matheson or a Dan Shulman
Mhm.
or or any of these guys when we do have them on, and they're apologizing for Shapiro, is that it seems like there's a lot of trumpeting his skill at extracting money out of ownership,
Yeah.
right? Like, oh yeah, you could say what you want about like whether this move worked out or whether that move worked out, but you got to hand it to him. Like the payroll is as high as it gets in baseball. And, for a corporate owner with a board, like he's done a great job of like going into those like board meetings and justifying, like this contract and that contract. And, that's not something everybody can just do. I hear that and I believe it and it makes sense, right? So on the one hand, I feel like, yeah, there's value in Shapiro being able to do that. I don't really want to see him go because what's our payroll now?
Yeah.
250, let's
Yeah.
just say,
Fifth
right?
highest in baseball. Yeah.
I don't really want to see it return to 130, 150.
Which is kind of the through line here, Adam, of so many of these questions. It's like guys like you and I, our aged guys and older,
Yeah.
there is that PTSD that this front office is going to revert to the early 2000s where they're penny pinching and just never can quite get over that hump because they're not prepared to spend big.
But the other side to that, because that's me saying, yeah, let's keep Shapiro. Even if we lose Atkins, whether he's a puppet or not, Shapiro is getting he's able to manipulate the purse strings, and that's so valuable,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whether he misfires on a trade for Teoscar or whatever. But and I go logically, whoever the next guy is, right? Shapiro's out. They're inserting Joel Laflemme. Joel, you're the new Mark Shapiro of the Blue Jays. What are we doing here? Joel has no experience in a boardroom extracting $250 million out of a corporate company. I feel like, okay, for one, it's Roger's son who's now like the guy.
Mm-hmm. Big Ed.
He's got a taste for spending money. He either likes it or he doesn't, right? Like whoever the next guy is to replace Shapiro next year or beyond is going to go in and be like, okay, 250, that's our budget, right? Like Shapiro did all the work to convince him to spend the money in the first place. You spend $500 million on Vlad. You don't all of a sudden be like, we're the Marlins now.
Yeah.
Like the next guy in has a way easier time being like, let's keep spending. See, it works out when we spend, right? Attendance is up, revenue's up. Like, you invest, it comes back. You're still profiting, blah, blah, blah. Like whatever that sales pitch is, Rogers is either in on that or they're not. And if they're not, they're also not if Shapiro's saying it. Like Shapiro can't go into the next 5 years and be like, hey, let's keep spending because it's working out. And then point back to the last 10 years and be like, hey, we've been spending. Look how good this is. And if
Mm-hmm.
Rogers isn't happy with how the trajectory of the last 10 years has been, they're not going to want to continue for the next 5, whether it's Shapiro saying that or Joel Laflemme.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Right. So like I do hear the Schulmans and the Mathesons saying, man, there's real value in a guy being able to work the purse strings of the corporate world. Okay.
And there is
all that groundwork has been done. And now it's
yeah. Agreed on that. Let's wrap it up with a quick recap of three studs and a dud from the Friday
yes.
episode, which
So
we
we
weren't
did
able
so we
to
didn't
get
do the
to.
Friday episode. I did get to this on MLB Mondays for the Patreon, so a little bit more in depth here. I'm just gonna really quick
Yeah.
bullet point it just for anybody keeping track in their own ledger at home. Stud number 3 this week, Ernie Clement, 1 home run, a 342 batting average. Hoffman, stud number 2 with 4 saves, 4 appearances, 4 saves.
This was Friday to Friday, by the way. This was before
Friday
the
to
Philadelphia series, everybody.
Correct. And then Alejandro Kirk, stud number 1, 2 homers, a 478 batting average, and an honorable mention to our other catcher, Heineman, who just continues to get it done in limited roles. 1 home run, a 571 batting average that week. Dud, Bowden Francis,
Yeah.
and dishonorable mention to Bichette, who had a bad week. So there you go.
This has been Mailbag. Thank you so much for all of your interaction throughout the week. We will see you on Friday. I know that Adam is at a wedding, so it's going to be myself, and maybe I can wrangle someone else in, or maybe it's a solo episode. Either way, we will see you folks then. Again, grounds crew members, drop your comments below. Anything that we just talked about, feel free to get your comments in, and we can revisit this next mailbag. Again, appreciate the patronage. Cheers, everybody.